Hello, welcome back to Let's Talk Title with Emerald Coast Title Services. I'm president of ECTS, Dion Moniz.
And I am Ashley Bowen. I am a Florida licensed title agent and the director of operations for Emerald Coast Title Services.
All right, so today, in light of the new NAR settlement that now prohibits any disclosure of seller commissions going to buyer in MLS, we're going to go over the different ways you can communicate compensation
off of the MLS.
Yes. Away from the MLS.
So starting for the state, starting August 17th, there will be no more compensation on the MLS allowed. Starting August 12th, in the National Association of Realtors, there will be no more fields for compensation in the MLS any longer. You are not allowed to mention it in the MLS, not even in agent notes. It cannot be in the MLS. Nothing about compensation.
Correct.
So you have to find other ways to communicate it. You can do that by ways of email, text, social media, your website, flyers, postcards, the typical ways of advertising not on the MLS. You can put it on your website. There's a suggestion of maybe doing like a drop down on the broker's website that lists all of their broker-to-broker compensations, if it is flat out for all of their properties.
Yes. And it can only be, the website can only have your listings. Well, I'm sorry. You can only disclose the compensation on your listings on your website.
Okay. You can do flyers, you can do QR codes on signs on the property or a flyer in the property. You can have a QR code that talks about what the compensation will be. Or you can have a disclaimer in the MLS on your listing that says, call our office for more information. And then most brokers will probably know what that means. It means call us to get the commission amount.
Yeah, exactly.
I have heard of a really good idea, and that was taking the compensation agreement, which is now going to be a requirement starting August 17th, starting August 12th for ECAR. And we'll go over what the compensation agreement is in a minute, but a good idea is taking a picture of your seller's broker to buyer's broker compensation agreement for all of your listings and giving it out to all of your agents so that when someone calls them on a listing, they can say, hold on, I'm going to text you a picture really quick. And then you can just text the picture of this compensation agreement, and that way they know what the commission is on that listing.
Yep, exactly.
So there's lots of different ways to do it, but most importantly is to get it in writing.
Yes.
Follow up with an email if it wasn't by way of email that you received it, if it was by phone call or whatever. Follow up and get it in writing.
Yeah, and best practices, like Ashley just mentioned, is now some new forms have dropped that should be in Form Simplicity already, but there are now these compensation agreements, and there's really 4 forms, but there's 2 variations. So there's a seller's broker to buyer's broker compensation agreement, and then there's the seller to buyer's broker compensation agreement, and then there's a modification form for each of those. So that's why there's 4 forms. But obviously your seller's broker to buyer's broker agreement is going to be when there are brokers on both sides, and the other one is probably for FSBOs, where a seller is not represented or using an agent but wants to pay buyer side a commission.
Yes, so on a FSBO you would have them complete the commission form, seller to buyer's broker.
Yep. And so best practices, in my opinion, will be you're not going to have your contract for the property, there's going to be a BBA with the buyer, and now there's going to be a compensation agreement between both sides specifying what the commission seller's willing to pay to buyer side. And so all 3 of those documents now are going to be what we need as the title company to figure out who gets paid what
for the settlement statement.
Yep. Yeah. So very important to get that in writing. Very important to make sure you do not violate the new rules, because I found out today if you do violate, you're removed from the settlement protection, and there was the fine could be $10 million or something crazy like that. Maybe that was just an extreme example that they were giving.
I know that the antitrust law violation is 10 million.
Okay, that's what it was. Yes. Okay.
You don't want to violate that one either.
Right, you don't want to violate that one. But there are going to be some fines if you do violate the non-disclosure rule now. And ultimately, you could end up being pulled out of the settlement protection if you're a broker that gets busted for violation.
And I think that one of the local, if after 2 or 3 violations, I think that one of the local things is to get kicked out of the MLS, which you don't want to do if you're a realtor. So
exactly.
Stay in compliance.
Yeah, stay in compliance. Get creative with how you're going to disclose. You know, your commission's going to buyer side. You can do it any way you want as long as it's not an MLS.
That's right. But make sure that you follow up and get that thing in writing. I think it's important. And don't forget about these 2 new forms. The new form, 2 variations of it. The commission agreement, compensation agreement.
Yep.
For the consumer / buyer.
Yes, exactly. All right, short and sweet, but very important. So if you have any questions on any of that, please feel free to reach out to us at 850-650-0077.
That's right.
Or Ashley, ASHLEY, at ECTS.com.
Or you can hit us up on any of our socials.
Yep. Please be sure to like us and subscribe. And until next time, we'll say goodbye. Bye-bye.
Bye.